Welcome to my podcast. Today is Thursday, May 11th, 2017. I am coming to you from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, where I live with my husband, Andrew, and our dog, Iggy. You can find me on Ravelry as Hey, I'm Kathryn Knits, and you can find me on Instagram at Hey, I'm Kathryn _ the podcast. So, episode 2. Welcome to any new viewers. Welcome back to any returning viewers. I appreciate you spending some of your time with me. I hope I can keep you entertained. We'll see. If you like questionable crafting abilities and random trains of thought, this is your podcast. I'm your girl. But anyways, thank you very much. I do actually appreciate it. When I posted episode 1 to the intertubes, I didn't think that anyone would watch it. I figured I'd get 5 or 6 views, and that would be it. And I have far exceeded my expectations in that respect, I think because of the help of a few people, which I will thank in just a minute. But anyways, I am just tickled pink that anybody wants to watch me at all, and that anybody wants to send me nice comments telling me to keep up the good work. So anyways, thank you very much. You guys have all made my day. So yes, I've read every single comment and replied to most of them, I hope. I read all of the Instagram comments. I've read the comments that people have left in the Ravelry group. Hey, I'm Kathryn, the podcast. Search for it. Enter it. That's where I'll put all of the show notes and any other interesting stuff that we happen to do. If we ever get big enough to do like a knit along or anything, that's where it'll be. So anyways, thank you very much. You guys are making my day with this whole podcasting thing. There are 3 people specifically that I would like to thank after episode 1. So the first is Chantel, who is Knit Pearl Dog on Instagram and the host of the Skein Game podcast on YouTube. And she not only mentioned my podcast on her podcast, but she also regrammed me on Instagram. So I know that a bunch of my viewers came from her, so thank you, Chantel. I would also like to thank Melissa from Prairie Dye Studio, who also regrammed me, and she left me some very, very nice comments, which I appreciate so much. I would like to point out that both Melissa and Chantel are huge, like, local boosters. Not just Calgary, but Alberta. Like, if you are a maker or if you're a podcaster or whatever, both of those ladies are like 110% in your corner, which I just think is so great. They're fantastic. So thank you, Melissa and Chantel. And I would also like to thank Susan, who is at KnitLib on Instagram and host of the KnitLib podcast on YouTube. And she also mentioned me on her podcast. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. So yeah, it has been a while. It's been almost a month since I recorded episode 1. It did take me almost 10 days to figure out how to edit my YouTube video and then upload it and then get it to a good enough quality that it wasn't like watching through Vaseline. So it took me a little longer than I thought it would. Hopefully, episode 2 will be a little bit faster. Let's see what I've learned in my month. So that was one issue. And then the second thing was I just didn't get a whole lot accomplished in the last kind of 3.5 weeks. I didn't want to come back and show all of the same projects at all of the same points of completion. I wanted to actually move things forward. So it was always like, okay, tomorrow I'll have all day, I'll do nothing but work on knitting stuff. And then something would come up and I would have to go and do errands or whatever. And then it would always be like, okay, tomorrow I really, really mean it. Tomorrow I really, really mean it. So anyways, I've done a little bit. We have moved forward and here I am. We're just going to do it. I'm not where I want to be in terms of completion of these projects, but such is the nature of life. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Something that I've been trying to internalize. But we won't get into that right now. I am a perfectionist, and it has held me back in an enormous number of ways that I'm only really starting to realize now. So I'm trying to deal with those tendencies by doing the best I can in a reasonable amount of time and just putting that out there as a product, because it's easier to build on something than to do nothing and wait for like this perfect thing to manifest itself. So anyways, enough of that. Here we go. So I am very knitting heavy again this week. It will probably be like that for the next couple of weeks, but then as we move into the summer, I hope to kind of pick up some other crafting endeavors and talk about those as well. So instead of just calling things like finished objects works in progress, I like a good pun. I like a bad pun even better. So come for the questionable knitting ability, stay for the terrible puns. First of all, we are going to talk about finished objects, or as I will call it, goat off my needles. So, this is technically a repeat finished object, but this is a scarf that I talked about in episode 1, and I would just like to point out that it is officially finished because I have woven in my ends. So, officially done, check, ready to go in the bin with all the other scarves and winter attire, which we hopefully will not have to pull out till October. You never know, we've gotten summer snows before, it could happen. So, that is my first official finished object. Second finished object is the pair of socks that I showed in episode 1. I had about a sock and a third. And these were for the Pin Feathers and Pearls stripy socks knit along. And I also entered them in the Grocery Girls April sock bash. So at the end of the last episode, I had one complete sock and was just through the heel flap and turn of the second sock, and I had about 6 hours left to finish the entire foot, and I didn't know if I could do it. Well, I totally did, and I took my pictures and I entered them in the threads and got it done. So now I know that I can technically knit the foot of a sock in like 6 hours if I really apply myself. So last time I showed you that I had actually made some mistakes. So on the edge of my heel, you can see, on the edge of my heel flap, you can see all these weird bumpy things. That is because I wrapped my stitches when I was doing my slip stitch edge of my heel flap. I wrapped my stitches the wrong way. My yarn was not in the right position to wrap them. So that's why I ended up getting that weird like bump. And I remember doing this in my class as well. The class that I took at my local yarn store where we did the cuff down sock, I did that as well. And my teacher was like, I don't quite know what you did. Well, I figured it out. I wrapped my yarn the wrong way. It was held the wrong way. And then I picked up my stitches backwards. So you have like this weird seam line and you can see where I picked up my stitches. But in sock number 2, I fixed both of those problems. So yeah, there is the edge of my heel flap. And it's not smooth because it's a heel flap. You can obviously feel it, but there was no bumpies, and I picked it up correctly. And the other side is the same. And there's no hole at the top of my gusset because I remembered to pick up the bar to make a make one stitch, and I also knit that stitch. So I actually closed the hole instead of just making a yarn over. So, while I did make mistakes in sock number 1, I recognized them and rectified them in sock number 2. And I mean, honestly, I really do not care that I have mistakes in these socks. They're socks for me. They're still perfectly functional. They are completely comfortable. I assume I haven't actually worn them. Not yet. But I am fine with a few minor mistakes in my first attempts of things. It is a-okay. So, socks done. Also, still don't have sock blockers. That is just the way things are going to go right now. So that is my second finished object. And then my last finished objects are actually not knitting, they're actually crochet. So I learned to crochet in January of 2017, and I think it's really fun. It's a very different application of like fiber crafting. I don't know that I would do the same things with crochet that I would do with knitting, but I think that they're really good complements to each other. In terms of making stuffed animals, or in terms of what I'm going to show you in my works in progress. So I think they're good complements for each other. I'm not sure I would like crochet a sweater, but would I crochet a shawl or a wrap? Sure, why not? So anyways, after I learned to crochet, I did Crochet 101 and 201 at my local yarn store, and then I was flipping through websites for our other local yarn stores in Calgary, and Stash, which is a yarn store in Inglewood, has amigurumi classes that are taught by Philip Ha. And he is an amigurumi artist. He's written a book about them, which I have, and which is fantastic. So anyways, I signed up for his class, and I made little critters, and they're super cute. So the first class that you sign up for is your level 1 class, and you make a cute little owl. Look at him! Look at how cute with his little pointy ears. So these, again, not super perfect. I put on my safety eyes too tightly. I snapped the backs on too tightly. So then when I stitched down my big white owl eyes, the safety eyes popped through the center of it. So the safety eyes are in there. They're just like buried underneath. So the eyes don't look kind of the way they're supposed to, but that's okay. I think he's still super cute. And my wings are not as teardroppy as they should be. They're more round than teardroppy, but that's okay. I kind of don't care because he's still super cute. So you go and you take your 2.5-hour class, and I've completed this guy in 2.5 hours. He did not take me that long, and I could make a whole parliament of them. That's what a group of owls is called. It's a parliament of owls. So I could make a whole parliament of these guys if I wanted to, which I think they would be super cute. Like, I'm seriously considering making a bunch of them in Christmas colors and putting them in my Christmas tree. And one of my dearest friends, who we have been friends since the first day of our first year of university. So it's been more than 2 or 3 years that we've known each other, and she's having a baby in the fall. And so I'm thinking, how cute would it be to make a bunch of these little guys in coordinating colors and make a little mobile? I think those would be super cute. So that's the first one. If you take the level 1 class, this is the guy that you make, and super easy, and Philip is a really great teacher, and I just had a great time. So then I signed up for the level 2 class, and you make a little bun. So this is, oh my god, like, I cannot get over how freaking cute this little bunny guy is. This guy took me a little bit longer. It took me the full 2.5-hour class, and then we went to the mountains the next weekend, so it took me the entire drive out and the entire drive back. So it was probably about 4.5 to 5 hours this guy took me, but he was my first one. And so you make all of the pieces separately. So you do 2 ears separately, and then the head, the body. You do the little arms, the little feet, and little cotton tail. And then you stuff the pieces and you graft them all together. So yeah, so this is the other finished object that I have. And I mean, like, how cute is this guy? I think they're so sweet. Yeah, I think he's super cute. And I'm very glad that I have the skills to make more of these. Andrew calls them Tamagotchis, which are also little Japanese animals, but any kid of the 90s knows this is not a Tamagotchi. No, you can't really clip this to your keychain or whatever and then forget to feed it, and then it dies. But anyway, so these are amigurumis. They're not Tamagotchis. But anyways, so this is my other finished object, and it is an oldie, but that's what I have right now. So yeah, these guys keep me company in my office. So that is the completion of Goat Off My Needles. Moving right along to Works in Progress, or as I will call it, Alpaca My Project Bags. So, works in progress. The work in progress that I'm going to start with is the one that has been like holding up filming. I am still working on Andrew's blanket. I am doing it because I want it to be done. I want to be able to give him a completed object that he can use that I made with love and only a little bit of frustration. But at this point, if this was a project for me, I am so kind of tired of looking at it and thinking about it and working on it that I would just put it in a bag and put it away, and that would be it. Like I would not look at it for a while. But I do want to get this done. I am not letting myself cast anything on until this project is done. So instead of inspiring me to work harder, I have just then like not knit at all. Because I don't want to work on this, but I can't cast on anything else, so I'm just going to do nothing. And somehow that will make this problem disappear. It's not. Spoiler alert, it's not. So, anyways, the last time that I showed this project to you, I had a big pile of squares. I had to finish the last several of them. There were ends to weave in. It was kind of a mess. So, since then, I have completed all of the squares. They're all done. I wove in all of the ends. There were 180 ends to weave in. I wove in all of the ends. Then I blocked them all. This is 100% acrylic yarn. You can block acrylic. You should block acrylic. So you cannot water block this. Like you wouldn't soak it and then squish the water out and lay it flat to dry or stretch it into shape and pin it depending on what it is, like you do with wool. It's a synthetic fiber. It's not going to absorb any water. So what you need to do is pin it out into the shape that you need it, and then you steam it. You steam block it. So we have a clothing steamer, which made this super, super simple. If you do not have a clothing steamer, but you have a steam iron, you can also use that. You just need to be very careful. When you're hovering your iron, you do not ever touch your hot iron to your acrylic object. It will melt instantly. But you have to just hover your iron over whatever you're steaming it the entire time, and it will still work. So that is an option if you don't have a clothing steamer. But I set all of my blocks out. I pinned them into the dimensions that I needed, which is about 14 by 14. I did it the hard way. First, I pinned out one square, and then I pinned out the second, and I pinned out 4 in a row on my blocking mats. What I should have done is measured out using like painter's tape or anything, washi tape, who cares. I should have measured out a 14 by 14 inch square, 4 of them, and then just pinned my pieces inside that square, and then I wouldn't have had to measure every single freaking piece. Things that you think about when you're already like 90% done. But anyways, so then you take your clothing steamer or your steam iron and you move it over top and kind of gently smooth it out. You don't want to pat. If you push down too hard, you leave like a handprint, which is not what you want. And you just kind of smooth it out, and it does get quite nice and drapey after you've steamed it enough that you've killed it. Killing acrylic is what you want to do if you want it to be like nice and soft and drapey. So that is what I did. With steam blocking acrylic, you do it once and it's done. So at this point, if I threw this in the washing machine, if I threw it in the dryer, if I did whatever to it, it is always going to come out to this exact same size. It's not like wool where you need to reblock it every single time you get it wet. This is done. So make sure you've measured properly, because there's no going back. If you stretch it too big, there's no going back. FYI. So blocked all of my pieces, and then I went around with my white yarn, my white glow Uptown worsted, and I crocheted all the way around all 4 sides of every single block. And I did that because I am reusing this color, the variegated marled color, which is Uptown Worsted Mist, and I think this is the bright blue colorway. And I'm using this same yarn to join all of the blocks together into rows, and then join all of the rows together into the blanket. And I thought that if I did those right against each other, it wasn't going to be clear that these are blocks, because all of these stripes would just kind of blend into the border, and I wanted a little bit of demarcation. So I thought that doing 1 row of single crochet all the way around would give me enough of a border. And so far I think I'm right. So got all of that done, bordered all of my blocks, and then I started attaching the blocks into rows. And then when I had 2 rows done, I attached the rows together. And so that is where I have stopped. I finally, when I'm not just going to go one more day, I'm just going to tape, and this is where we are right now. So I have 40% of this blanket. The center of the blanket is now complete. I need to finish the other 60% and then do my border, and then we're really done. But this is what we're working with. So I have my square. You can see this is where I've joined the 2 blocks together, the 2 squares together. So I just did a big long line all the way down the middle, and I think I did 6 rows in between, which now I'm kind of regretting, because since I did it on the first one, now I have to do that on every successive one. I should have done like 4 maybe. But anyways, too late now. I'm committed. Here we go. So this is what the join looks like all the way along. And so you can see how there's like this is actually quite a good place to show it right here. So you can see marled stripe and then marled stripe. And you can see how the white border kind of demarcates where the different purposes are. Like, this is a join and this is a block. And so anyways, it's looking mostly like I wanted it to. Things are not lining up as perfectly as I had hoped they would, but I think that's what happens. Picking up knit stitches with crochet is not always easy. I am using a 3.75 millimeter hook, which is several sizes smaller than what is recommended for working with a worsted weight yarn. But I just found that especially with the cast on and the bound off edges of my knitted squares, I could not get the correct size hook through. Like, it wasn't working. So I just kept sizing down until it would actually go through. And it's working okay, but it's not ideal. I think it's making things tighter than they should be. But this is where we are. So we have our rows, and then we connect the rows together into a big blankety bit. So in between the rows, I'm only doing 4 rows of crochet. And that is mainly because I'm concerned that I will run out of yarn. Crochet uses a lot more yarn than knitting does. So even though I have like 5 extra balls of this marled yarn that I picked up specifically for joining and edging, I'm a little bit concerned that I won't have enough. So we will see. So my biggest concern when I was laying out this blanket is that it was large enough. And I remember saying that last time, that, the blanket needs to be big enough to tuck under Andrew's feet and for him to wrap himself in. And then I blocked all of the squares and got them all joined together, and this blanket is going to be enormous, I think. So I'm 5'9", so my wingspan is 5'9", because that's the way your body is proportionally done. So if I take one end in one hand and stretch it out as far as I can, and then go to the other end and stretch it out as far as I can, I get to here. I have an entire block left that my wingspan doesn't cover. So this blanket is probably going to be like 7 feet wide by the time I'm done. And these squares are already much longer than I thought they would be after I blocked them. And I also think that the weight of them is dragging them down. So anyways, this is like 3.5 feet of blanket, and that's only 2 rows out of 5, and then there's still the edging. This blanket is going to be like 7 by 9. It's going to be almost king size. Oh well, don't do anything in half measures. That's what I say. Give it all, hey? Anyways, so that's my work in progress. As I said, I'm not allowing myself to cast on anything new until this is done. And the good news is now that I have 2 of the rows attached together, now that I know that I can do it, it's going to look relatively the way I want it to. Like, the end is in sight. So for example, if I can get a row of blocks attached together tonight, then I can add them to my blanket and I'm 60% done. So I hope that I will be able to keep rolling on this because I really want it finished. I want to be able to move on to something else without this like unfinished project hanging over me. And also I'm kind of interested to see how large it will be when it's actually done. So we'll see how this turns out. But anyways, it's my first blanket. It's my first major knitting project. I really didn't know what I was doing. I was not following a pattern, and now it is clear that I should. A pattern designer, I am not. So, anyways, we will keep working on it. My other work in progress has even less to show. All I have to show is this. Anyone who watched episode 1 will recognize this as my swatch for my flax sweater by Tin Can Knits, which is a sweater that I cast on for my guided sweater class at my local yarn store. The reason I'm showing you this swatch is because this is all that I have to show you. I have had one more class in the time between episode 1 and episode 2. I still have completed nothing on it. I have nothing cast on. Like, I have literally nothing to show for my 4 classes of sweater classes. I have 1 class left, which is coming up day after tomorrow, so this Saturday. I'm not going to stress about not having a sweater. It was fairly obvious, like immediately after I shot episode 1, I kind of came to terms with the fact that I was not going to have a completed sweater at the end of my class. That was my original goal when I signed up for guided sweater, was that I would be able to start a sweater, I would work on it, and I would be complete. I would be done a sweater in like 12 or 8 or 10 weeks or whatever the class was. It's about 10 weeks because it's 5 classes about 2 weeks apart. So I thought 10 weeks to do a really simple top down sweater is probably realistic for a person of my skill set. Like, it was 95% stockinette, so I could do it. And then I just had so many problems, and I got really discouraged, I think. And then there are, I think, other factors that are playing into that. So I'm not going to say too much about that right now. There is still one more class, and I don't want to judge the entire experience until it's actually over. So I'm going to wait, and then in episode 3, we'll talk a little bit more about that, I think. Also because I've signed up for another guided class. I've signed up for guided lace, which starts next Wednesday, which is with a different teacher, but it's the same kind of basic idea. You show up with a pattern you want and all of the materials that you need, and the teacher is there to assist you. So, episode 3, we will talk more about the sweater fiasco, or the lack of sweater fiasco, I suppose. But anyways, I'm still excited about using this yarn. I still do want to knit myself a flax sweater. I do think it will happen. It's one of my goals for the summer. I think I'll be able to cast it on. And we will see. So anyways, stay tuned. Still technically a work in progress because I have not given up on it yet. So there we go. So that is works in progress. Done. So the next section I'm calling Useful Yakkin'. And this probably won't pop up in every single episode, but if I come across a tool or a book or something that is helping me do my stuff, this is where I will share it with you. I do not think any of this is groundbreaking, probably. Like, I'm sure I'm the last person to figure all this out, and none of this is sponsored. None of these companies know who I am. They don't care. So anyways, this is just stuff that I found very useful. Useful yakkin'. So, as I mentioned with my blanket, I had to weave in 180 ends. That was an undertaking, but it was not as bad as it could have been because I had 2 tools that I found very helpful. So the first one is a yarn threader. So this one is by Clover, and it's like their antique line. So this part is metal and quite heavy. This part is a little bit flexible, which is good. Where's the camera? There it is. So anyways, it works just like every other yarn threader you've ever seen, every other thread, like needle threader you've ever seen. It works in exactly the same way, but the hole is big enough that it can fit worsted and above weight yarn in it. And it's nice and narrow, so it will fit in any kind of tapestry needle you have all the way down to lace weight. So this made it so much easier to thread the needle 180 times to get all of those ends woven in. So, I mean, you don't have to buy the metal one. I think this one was like $5. It's not that expensive. I've seen them in a whole bunch of stores, but you can also get plastic ones that are a lot lighter, which I think I have one of those upstairs as well, which will be for my travel, like for my travel notions pouch, just because it's lighter. So yeah, so this is by Clover. And then also by Clover are their tapestry needles, which, I mean, tapestry needles, if you've seen them once, you've seen them a million times. But the reason I like these is because they have different sizes and different styles. So they have the straight ones. Clover also has the ones with the curved tip on them. And they're all packaged, depending on what size they are or what style they are, in a different colored tube. So that is what I really liked. So the green one is a set of 3 that are 3 different sizes. So this is kind of like a good one to have in your project bag if you don't know exactly what you're going to be doing. So you have like your little lace weight one, and then like your middle sized one, and then one for like worsted and bulkies and whatever. So anyways, I like having them in their little tube so that I don't ever have to worry about them falling out of a bag or falling out of a tin. I don't need to worry about them falling on the floor, and I know that they're in there, they're secure. They do have like a little hole in the cap, so you could like wear it like a necklace if you wanted to. I assume that's to like tie it to your notions bag or your project bag. But anyways, I just thought that it was kind of a really great idea to have them in these hard plastic cases, and to have them all kind of color coded so that you knew like the purple ones are this size, the orange ones are this size, and it can kind of help you pick what you need. So that is another thing that I'm finding super helpful. And the last thing are, and I mean everyone has seen these, progress keepers / stitch markers. So these are the ones that I showed last time, same style, and they have the French ear wires. So they open nice and big and then they clip shut. And these are by Mothy and the Squid, and she has an Etsy store, I think. I assume so because she gave me her card. Anyways, Mothy and the Squid, mothyandthesquid.com. And these I'm using an enormous amount in my blanket project because I use them to help me count how many repeats of rows I've done. I'm using them to help mark like the lower left corner of all of my squares so that when I'm attaching them together, I know that they're all in the right orientation. I mark the lower left corner of the rows so that I know when the rows are being attached, they're in the right orientation. And then the other thing, this is a tip that I picked up from Chantel from the Skein Game podcast. When you are done with your crochet but not done with your row and you haven't kind of tied it off and finished work on it, clip one of these little guys through your loop of your last stitch, and then you won't unravel any of your stitches. So again, like I'm sure I'm the last person on the face of the earth who knew that, but that was like a game changer for me because I would just pull the loop really, really big and then carefully set my project aside and hope that everything turned out okay. So anyways, so yeah, these you can find them in 1,000,001 places at all kinds of yarn shops and all over Etsy, and these are just super cute because they are like springtime kind of progress keepers, which it is spring here. So this one is like a little nest with 3 little eggs in it. And then you have like a little flower, and you have trees and leaves and a little birdhouse and another little flower, and this little guy is a bunny, which is super cute, and like a bird bath fountain-y thing, and a little sheep because of course I'm working with yarn, and then another little bun. So anyways, I just thought those were super cute. And the fact that they have the holes punched in the bottom of their card means that I can keep them all together, and I know if I am missing one, like if I've left one clipped onto my project, I know because its spot is empty. So anyways, these have made my life so much easier, and because the loops are so big, I can clip 2 and 3 projects blocks together. That's the word I'm looking for, blocks. I can clip 2 and 3 of the blocks together at the same time, and there's still lots of room. So anyways, those French ear wire progress keepers have helped me immensely. So those are my useful informations. So the last thing that I have to talk about today are goodies, which I am calling a wolf in sheep's clothing. The bad puns just keep on rolling. So, in one of her episodes of her Skein Game podcast, Chantel talked to Leslie, who is the dyer behind YYC Knits and also Wool on Wheels, which is like a mobile yarn store, which is an awesome idea, but also super dangerous, I think, for anyone who gets, when the yarn fumes get in your head and you lose control. That could be really dangerous. So anyways, Chantel talked to Leslie, and Leslie ended up donating a prize, this beautiful skein of yarn, and what you have to do is post a photo of yourself with something bee or honey related. So I had a fat quarter of this really cute bee print fabric, and I posted it, and the random name picker picked me. So I won! Yay! So I met up with Chantel last week, last Wednesday. And as we were sitting there in Inglewood, Susan from the Knit Lib podcast ended up biking up, and we sat there and we talked on a bench. And not to brag, but I'm pretty sure we're going to be best friends, like BFFs for life from now on. So just putting that out there. But anyway, Chantel and Susan are both awesome. They are exactly how you think they would be from watching their channels, and I'm so glad that I got to meet them, and I hope we get to hang out again soon. But I got my prize, which is this beautiful skein of yarn from Leslie from YYC Knits. So this is 100% superwash merino, and it's worsted weight, so it's beautiful and squishy, and the color is gorgeous. It's like this perfect, absolute honey color. And anyone who has ever seen like not commercially created honey, and I mean commercially created, it's not like it's made in a factory, but anyone who has ever seen like wild honey, when they get like the clover honey, it's a lot darker. When they do dandelion honey, it's a lot lighter. Like it depends on where the pollen is coming from. It's fascinating. I used to want to be a beekeeper. I'm not gonna lie. I really wanted to have a beehive, but we just don't have the right setup in this house for it, and it's not worth moving just to get bees. So anyways, this is like the perfect honey colored skein of yarn, and it is so soft and squishy, and I'm gonna zoom in and see if we can see like the fluffies on the outside. I love it. So anyways, thank you so much, Leslie, for donating this lovely squishy bit of yarn, which is destined to be turned into a hat or a cowl or something. And thank you to Chantel also for hosting the contest and for agreeing to meet with me and for sitting and talking with me for so long. Anyways, it's, oh my God, this is so soft. I love it. So, interestingly, last time I said I never won anything and proved myself wrong already. I never win $10 million in the lottery. Hopefully I prove myself wrong again. That would be amazing. So that is my first, like, wolf in sheep's clothing. That is one of them. Then last time I also talked about Allison Barnes' collection, and she is a dyer out of Edmonton, and her next round of the Yarn Club came. So show you her ball band. So Allison Barnes collection out of Edmonton, Alberta, and this is fingering weight 80/20 merino nylon. And this is her April 2017 club colorway, and it is called Puddle Jumping. And I just, oh my God, it's so cute, you guys. Like, I love like the barn board brown, and then it has pink and this like denim-y blue. It's showing up purple, but this in real life it's blue. It's like blue jeans. And oh my God, I love it. I love it so much. So she's also hosting a shawl along starting on the 15th, so starting on Monday. And you need to use Allison Barnes collection yarn and knit a shawl. So this would be like perfect for that. I'm totally entering that knit along. I'm going to freaking blanket and I'm going to enter that knit along. It's going to be a thing. So yeah, I could totally, oh my God, I didn't even see this. It's like greens and turquoises and speckles and oh my God. Oh, I love it. I love it so much. So yeah, so it's gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm so happy with this, and it's soft and squishy, and I love it because it's a surprise. And again, she included stitch markers. So again, these are the ones on the French ear wires, which, as I just said, I'm in love with. And this cute little pink bead and a little leafy charm, which is just perfect for spring. Oh my God, I love it. And chocolatey chai tea. Love it. Oh my God. So that is one goodie. Second goodie is from Vivid Yarn Studio, who is Julia, and she's here in Calgary. So here's her ball band. Vivid. And so this is her April 2017 club colorway. Thank goodness for my birthday. And this colorway is called Daydream. And oh my God, you guys. There we go. There's the color. Look at that mint. Oh my God. I cannot with it. And the speckles. Oh my God, it's perfect. It's perfect. Oh my God, I love it. And it's so soft. Her base is so nice. Yeah, I have no idea what I'm going to do with this, but it's gorgeous, and I cannot wait to cast something on with it. And then she also included a little stitch marker with a little pink and green bead, and then another like feathery charm on the bottom, which is super cute. And then David's tea. Raspberry meringue. It smells so good. It smells so good. So yeah, again, I can 110% get behind having tea sent with all my yarn. Here for it. Totally. I'm a super bad like knitting podcaster because I don't have tea anywhere with me. I have nothing to drink at all. So I am failing on that front. Hopefully you guys will tune in next time. With that failure, I don't know if you will. But anyways, so those are all of my bits and bobs and goodies and all of the nitty talking I had to do, and I think that's it for today. So anyways, thank you very much for spending some time with me. I appreciate it. I know everyone is busy and there are like 10 million podcasts out there, so I appreciate you spending some time with me. Hopefully this will not take 9 days to upload. If you're looking for show notes, they will be posted in my Ravelry group, Hey, I'm Kathryn, the podcast, with the links and everything that you need in there. And if you liked what you saw, give me a little thumbs up below, and I will see you guys again in 2 weeks. And there will be like 20 million whips. I'm calling this now. There will be so many new cast-ons because this blanket will be done. Calling it, putting it out there. Blanket will be finished. So, anyways, thank you for spending time with me. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye.